Mailerlite is a popular, budget-friendly email marketing platform, and it can be used to send emails, create automations, and ultimately build an engaged audience of subscribers for your online business. But with so many email service providers out there, you may be wondering how Mailerlite works and if it's the right pick for you. Today's tutorial is so important because no matter your niche or area of expertise, building an email list is a foundational strategy to help you create sustainable, scalable revenue online. So whether you're starting your email list from scratch or you're thinking about switching platforms, I'm excited to show you exactly how Mailerlite works so you can make an informed decision for your business. First, let's talk about Mailerlite's free plan versus paid plans. That you can get started with a free plan with up to 1,000 email subscribers, which makes it a great choice for anyone who's just getting started. Now, on their paid plans, they do add additional features like unlimited templates and some additional customization, but I think most business owners can get started on the free plan, so that's what I'm going to focus on in this demo. It's noteworthy that as your list grows, the price of your monthly subscription will grow. So for example, Wit and Wire is a bit closer to right here, so I would be paying these prices paid monthly or save a bit by paying annually. But as a comparison, this is far less than some direct competitors. So I do think that Mailerlite is a great choice for anybody who is budget conscious, even as your business continues to grow. Now, once you get started with your free plan, you can click here to sign up for free, get started on that 1,000 subscriber plan. I'll go ahead and meet you in the dashboard. If you're a new Mailerlite user, you'll first need to verify your email address and complete your profile. And once those two steps are complete, you'll be ready to get started. Here's what your dashboard will look like in an active Mailerlite account. Along the left, you'll see the main menu. And a few highlights include campaigns, where you can see all of your broadcast emails, your subscribers, your forms, which include pop-ups and opt-ins like freebie delivery, and automations. We'll cover each one of these coming up shortly, but you can also adjust your account settings or browse the Need Help section to see all of their help articles. First, I want to show you how to design and send emails in Mailerlite. On the left, let's click Campaigns. This brings us into the Broadcast Email Builder, which means that these emails go out at a set date and time. I'm going to click Create Campaign on the top, and then I'll come back to show you the difference between these two demo emails. So let's click Create Campaign. And you have the option between a regular campaign or an A/B test. This gives you the chance to test two different variables, like two subject lines against each other. And although I do recommend using A/B testing if you're comfortable with Mailerlite, I'm going to get started with a regular campaign. So let's click Continue, and we'll give this campaign a name. This is internal only, so only you will see this. And then we'll choose a subject line. So maybe I'll paste this subject line here, and I did include an emoji. And then I'll add what's called pre-header text. As you can see in the preview, the pre-header text appears below the subject line. And especially on mobile, this does influence your open rate. Next, you'll choose your recipients. And rather than selecting people one by one, you'll click this button that says Select Recipients, and you'll have the option to choose all active subscribers or a set group. And I pre-created these groups. I'll talk more about segmentation coming up, but here I just want you to see that you do have options. So let's select the group called Weekly Newsletter, click Select, and then click Next. Here you'll choose the starting point for your design. So you have three options. You can either start from scratch, you can choose from the template gallery only if you're on a paid plan, or you can choose a recent email. And over time, as you continue to send out, let's say a regular newsletter, it might make sense that you use your most recent newsletter as the starting point for your next newsletter. Since you might be working on the free plan, I'm not going to use a template to start. Instead, I'm going to start from scratch. And there are two different editors you can pick from. You can either use the drag and drop editor or the rich text editor. Here's what it looks like if you start from scratch. Along the right, you can customize the font and styles. You can also decide if you want it to be a limited or full width email. And then in the body of the email, if you hover over the side, you'll see a plus icon that gives you the option to add different essential blocks like text, image, or even a video, which I would more accurately describe as a link to a video that creates an image. So rather than building this from scratch, what I'm going to do is pull up my pre-built example to show you what this looks like. Here's a sample Wit and Wire newsletter. So let me show you what I've done. At the top, I added an image block. And if you click on any block, it opens up the menu of settings along the right. So I added this image, which I designed in Canva with my logo. And maybe I would just enter my URL here, since I do think it's a good best practice to have this point to your website. Then I added some text. I just copied and pasted this from a Word document. And to add this hyperlink, I selected this text, and this brings up the rich text editor, where you can add hyperlinks, you can change the alignment, you can add some text color if you want, and you can even change the format from a paragraph to a header. Here I added an interesting block. I added a video. So when you add a video block, let me just add a new one. When you click on it, what you will do is paste a URL here. So in this case, I pasted one of my YouTube videos, and then it generates an animated image, or you could just choose a static image like this, and then you could choose a play button color. But to be clear, this doesn't actually play the video within somebody's inbox. What this does is give them something to click, and this will open up the URL that you give Mailerlite in a new window. But I think that's a nice block and a great feature. The last block types that I added are a button and a signature. So the button I added right here as a button, and if you click onto this element, you can add the button text and the URL. You can also change the color. And then here I added a signature. So this is called a signature block. So I added my name, my image, and if I wanted, I could use this in my upcoming emails and just give a sense of maybe familiarity to the face behind the brand. You can also briefly customize the footer. So I changed this text here. But for now, let's say this email looks good. Maybe I want to get rid of this extra block, and then I might move into preview and test. I always recommend that you preview and test your email. I prefer to send myself a test email so I can click on everything and see how it looks on desktop and mobile. But in preview mode, you can see both the desktop and the mobile version. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and click done editing. But before we move on to the last page, now I want to show you the drag and drop editor. You might already notice that there are quite a few more options in this editor. So I tried to build the same email, but I added a few more blocks just to show off more of the features. Along the right, you can see the general template settings. So you can set the background color, the fonts, and the button colors. And by the way, you can also save these as defaults in your Mailerlite settings, so you don't have to choose your brand colors and fonts every time. Then on the left, you'll notice a new menu. So in the previous editor, the rich text editor, we could add elements like text, buttons, or images. But now in the drag and drop editor, we have the concept of sections and blocks. So as an example, under content blocks, you can see pre-built blocks that include multiple elements. So the box CTA includes a header, text, and a button. And if you want, you can drag and drop this in, and then you can also move it around by using these arrows, or you can just drag and drop it above or below existing blocks like this. If you click on any block, it will open up the menu on the right where you can modify the settings. So here I might have the option to add an image. I can change the button style. And then if you click onto the actual text, you can edit it here. What you would do to build an email using the drag and drop editor is first add the blocks that you're looking for, or you might just start at the top, work your way through, and add blocks as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this block and then click the trash can to get rid of it, and I'll show you what I've built. First, I added a navigation block, and I used logo plus text. So you can see what I did was I added my own Wit and Wire logo, and then I changed the text on the side. Let's get rid of this and move on to the second block, which is a text block. So I copied and pasted my text. I highlighted this text here. And when you highlight text, it brings up the rich text editor. And then I added a hyperlink here. And below it, I added a signature block. So this is under special. I added a signature, and then I included my photo and my information. So this was found under content. This is a message block. Again, I just wanted to show off a few more examples. Below that, we have a divider. And below that, we have an additional content block. I believe it might have been this title plus image content. I just dragged this into my email. I added the heading, the image, and the text. And again, if you click into any block, it will give you the options along the side. And then you can just select text to edit it right within the email. I'm going to get rid of this block. You can see everything that I did here. I also changed to a different footer block just to, spice things up, make it match my brand. And I changed the background color so that it differentiated my message from my footer. By the way, I think it's important to share that there's no one right way to design a newsletter. Some are highly designed, others keep it simple. So go with what feels right for you, and your newsletter will evolve over time. Once I'm happy with this design, I will preview and test my email just like before, and then I'll click Done Editing to bring me into the final page. After I review all of my essential campaign info, I can choose between sending this email now or sending it later. And I typically schedule emails to send later, so I might choose a specific date and time in the future. And then you'll notice that it's in my time zone, which I set in the Mailerlite settings. And at this point, this email would be ready to schedule. Now, at this point, you may also be wondering how you can create automated emails that happen after triggered actions. But before I can show you how to build an automation, I think we should set things up by talking about collecting email addresses with forms or sites. So in order to build your email list, you'll need to collect email addresses. And you can do that with either forms or sites. So let's talk about the difference. Under forms, you can create either pop-up forms or embedded forms. But what this tab has in common is the fact that none of these forms live on a page. Under sites, you can create what's called a landing page or a website. And this creates either a single page or a multi-page site. And you can use your custom domain if you're on a paid plan. But what I'm going to show you how to do is create a landing page, in this case for a free download. And then I'll show you the difference between the landing page and the form. And once we have this all set up, then we'll be able to build the automation to actually deliver the content promised. So let's talk about how to build a landing page in Mailerlite. I'm going to click Create Site, and here we can give this a name. So maybe I'll call this Download Email Marketing Toolkit, and I want to create a single landing page, not a multi-page website with a navigation menu. So I'll click Save and Continue. Here I have the option to select which group someone should be added to if they submit their contact info on this landing page. So I am going to add a new group because maybe this is a new landing page for a new freebie. So I'm going to click Add New Group, and I usually call them Download and then the name. So Download Email Marketing Toolkit, and I will click Create. Now that that's selected, I will click Continue, and we get to choose the starting point for our landing page. I'm going to start from scratch, but two other noteworthy options are choosing a template, and these are only available on paid plans, although they are excellent. It might be worth paying for. Your other option, though, is to choose an existing landing page. So since I had already designed this landing page, I might choose this one rather than starting from scratch. Now, although this is what I would actually pick, I am going to click Start from Scratch just to show you what it looks like. Along the right, there are two important menus. The first is the settings menu, and I would start here, go through these options, and make sure that the font and styling matches your brand. From there, you can switch over to the blocks editor. And this is where you have the option to drag and drop in individual content blocks like text or images. Or if you scroll down, you can see that you have the option to start with a layout, like a 2-column layout. And then you can hover over either column, click the plus sign, and then choose which elements you want to add. So maybe you would add text, you could hover again, you could add a button, and you could continue building out the page to your liking. Now, right now in the right side menu, I can see the settings for this 2-column block. But if I wanted to edit the button, I would need to click on the button to activate this as my element. And then on the right, I now have the button options. Now I'm going to click Save in order to get back to the main blocks menu. But as a key takeaway, if you're building a freebie opt-in page, the only crucial element that you'll need to add is this one under Forms called Sign Up Form. So let's say I add this to the page. Right now, it doesn't look like much, but if you click on this element, you have the option to add maybe an image, maybe some text as well. I would recommend both. And you might position the media on either side. And then under Form, this is where you can decide if you want to add additional fields. For example, I typically add a name field, and maybe I drag this above email, and maybe I click the pencil icon to call this first name and click Save. Maybe I call this email address, which you don't have to do. I click Save, and then maybe instead of subscribe, I might say download it if in fact this was a freebie. Now, rather than continuing on this start from scratch page, I'm going to open up my pre-built demo to show you the rest of the features. This is a landing page that I designed to match Wit n Wire's branding. And believe it or not, there's only really one element on this page. It is the sign up form element. So I turned on the media and text. Then over here on the text side, I selected this text and I changed it from a paragraph to a header. So I have a header, I have some text, and then I changed the form just as I showed you to update the button text to add the name field. And so now I'm collecting the first name and the email address so that I can personalize their name in the email. And I'm going to show you that quick trick coming up. Then if I click save, you'll notice I edited just a few other options. I changed the background color. I chose what's called a card setting. So under the settings, I said show content in the card. So if curious, this is where I configured the look and feel of this page. And then if I click save, I also did decide to include the page header at the top, but I simplified it just to show my business name. Now, the other important page to talk about after you set up your landing page is here. It's called the success page. And here I just chose similar branding. I said, great choice. It's headed to your inbox. And then the next step that we'll build coming up is the automation that actually delivers this free download to our new subscriber. So for now, this looks good to me. I'm going to click save and publish. As a final step, you'll have to choose the slug at the end of the URL. And if you are on a paid plan, you can use a custom domain. You can use your own business's domain here. And if you want, you can change the favicon, which is the small icon in the browser tab, and you can get into the SEO settings. But for now, I'm just going to click save and continue. This brings me back into the overview of this landing page. To back up a bit, if I head into sites, we previously created a site. This is the demo that we started, and this is the new fully published page. And if I click overview, now I can see what the page looks like. I can create a split test. I can edit the design. I can see the analytics, which I think is a huge advantage in Mailerlite. You can see how many people view the page, how many people opt in, and the overall conversion rate. And you can also set up an automation. This is what we've been building towards. It's also under the automations tab, and we will get there shortly. But for now, I want to briefly head over to forms to show you the difference. So I created this embedded form, and let's head into edit this form. Right now, this doesn't look like much. And that's because this is not a standalone landing page. This is a small square meant to be embedded into a page on your existing website, like your existing Showit, WordPress, or Squarespace site. So what I might do is actually click on this and get rid of it. I'm going to hide it because I've already built an existing page. And then if I click done editing, this brings me to a landing page where I can scroll down, grab this HTML code, and copy it to my clipboard. Here's an example of a landing page built on my website, which is currently built using Showit. What I could do is add what's called embed code. And then on the side, I can paste what I just added to my clipboard and then just add this wherever I want on screen. If you have Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, or any other website platform, the exact steps might be a bit different, but I just wanted to show you that if you create an embed form, you'll need to put it on a page on your current website. But if you want that standalone landing page, you want to go to sites and add what's called a landing page. So that's the difference. Now it's time to create an email automation in Mailerlite. So I'm on the automation tab on the left. And to show you an example, I'm going to build the automation that would deliver that freebie to anyone who opts in to the course creation toolkit. So to recap, before we were working on a campaign, that's a broadcast email that goes out to a segment of people at a set date and time. An automation is different because it's triggered by an action. So in this case, the action that triggers our automation is somebody submitting their email address on that landing page. So let's click New Automation to get started. Here, I'm going to start from scratch. You do have the option to choose a starter template, and there are additional starter templates on paid plans marked as advanced, but I'm going to start from scratch since I think that will show you how this automation builder works. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Download Course Creation Toolkit, and I'll click Start Building. This brings me into the automation editor. And the first thing you'll need to do is set up what's called the workflow trigger. This is the specific action that a subscriber takes that should initiate this sequence of events. And on the right, I'm going to click Trigger. And although there are a few different options, the one I'm going to choose is when subscriber completes a form. Now, confusingly, we previously had those two different menus, one called Form, which had pop-ups and embeds, and the other one called Landing Pages. But what isn't obvious is the fact that when you create a landing page, you are creating a form on that page. So when I select something from this dropdown, you'll notice Download-Course Creation Toolkit. This is actually the form from the landing page that I built. So that is our workflow trigger. You may also want to allow subscribers to repeat the workflow in case they do this again 24 hours later. This makes sense for some opt-ins, but not all opt-ins. I think it works in this case if they want to download it again 3 months later. So I will go ahead and click save. Now that we have our workflow trigger on the top, you can click the plus sign to continue building the automation. So imagine a subscriber enters at the very top of this page. They're going to continue moving down the page to all of the additional actions that you add. So your steps include sending an email, delaying by a certain amount of time, adding a certain condition, or doing some type of action. So first, let's talk about adding an email. This is probably the most common action that you'll include. And this is going to be our deliver freebie email. And the subject line might be maybe your course creation toolkit. And then you can click design email. This brings you back into the email design workflow that we saw before. So you'd either choose a drag and drop editor or a rich text editor. And from here, you would continue to create your email. And although I'm not going to build the entire email, I am going to click rich text email to show you how to actually deliver this PDF, since I'm sure that's a question on many people's minds. So let's say I said, hey there, and then I'm going to write what is not a great email. I'm just going to say, here's your freebie from Melissa. This is like the most formal, silly email I've ever written, but it's going to work for now. And I'm going to use this plus icon to add a button. And this button is going to say, download freebie. Now, what you might notice is that I would need to add a URL here, but there's no obvious way to upload a PDF. In fact, if I go back to this menu and I search for something, I won't find anything. And you won't find anything in the drag and drop editor either. So as a key takeaway, Mailerlite cannot host PDFs or other free deliverables. If you want to send people a copy of your PDF, your Word document, or any other file type, you need to host it somewhere else, and then you would paste that URL here. Other email service providers do allow you to host PDFs and files in their file manager. So some people consider this to be a con for Mailerlite, but typically the workaround is to either host your file in Google Drive or Dropbox, or you can often upload a PDF to your website. For example, if you are a WordPress user, you can upload a PDF to your WordPress site and then grab a direct link to your file. In fact, for our example, let me show you how that works. WordPress users will recognize this dashboard. I'm under the media section and I added a PDF. So if you click add new, you can just drag and drop your PDF here. But if I go back to the previous page, I've already added this PDF and I can just click copy URL. And then in my email, I will paste this here. And then if I head over to preview mode and preview and test this email, if you click on this button, it will show you, it's just within this browser, a preview of that PDF file. And by the way, you can download this for real at witandwire.com/course toolkit, and you can download the updated version. Let's click the X icon to bring us back into this email. And I'm going to click done editing. You can come back and edit that email anytime by clicking on the action and then clicking edit content. And you can also change the subject line or name of the email here on the side. Let's click save. And then I'm going to click the plus icon to show you a couple other steps. So let's start with a delay. Let's say you're building a welcome sequence. You might want to send multiple emails, but you don't want them to send immediately. So what you need to do is create a delay so that somebody gets this first email and then they stop for a set amount of time before they receive the next one. So you can see on the right, you can delay somebody by minutes, hours, days, weeks, or months, and you have a few other options to delay until a specific time of the day or day of the week. So maybe I'll just keep things simple and I'll have somebody wait 2 days and click save. And so they would wait here for 2 days until they move on to the next step. Up next, let's add a condition. This lets you branch your contacts to either go left or right based on if they meet your criteria. So on the right, you can see any rule or all rules. The difference is that if you say any rule, it means that this contact only needs to match one of your conditions. It's an or clause for some of you who might be familiar with that terminology. If you select all rules, then a contact must meet all of the conditions you set here in order to go down the green yes path. So as an example, maybe you have an automation where you want to send welcome emails, but if somebody makes a purchase, maybe you want them to go to the left. So maybe I would set a condition that if they have a specific group membership, maybe they belong to the group Student Course Builders, now I want them to go to the left If not, maybe I would send them to the right and send them a pitch for the program. So that's just one example. We'll go ahead and click Save. To show you the final type of step, let's add an action. If we click Define Action, here you can see a drop-down menu that includes different ways that you can update information about this contact. So maybe you want to update a custom field, maybe you want to copy or move them to a group or remove them from a group or even move them to another step. This really unlocks a lot of opportunities for you to customize your communications both today and in the future. So although I'm not going to add one right now, you can see how this gives you a lot of flexibility to communicate with your subscribers in a very personalized way. You can easily remove actions by hovering and clicking the trash can icon and then clicking delete. And then once you're ready to publish this automation, you'll just click the toggle here at the top. Now let's click Save and Close. And this brings us back to the Automations menu. You can see that this automation is active. And if you click Overview, you can see a snapshot of your analytics. So you can see how many total emails have been sent, how many people have completed this automation, and then you can also get a monthly breakdown and some individual email stats. So I actually think this is one of Mailerlite's strengths, is this snapshot view of each automation in your ecosystem. I also want to show you how to include somebody's first name in an email in Mailerlite. Here's the email we built before in the rich text editor. So here at the start, instead of writing "Hey there," let's backspace the word "there." And then in this menu, you can see this option called Variable. This lets you choose a piece of data from your contact record. And this will only work if they've given you this information. So I'm going to click Name. And now when you send this email out, it will include each contact's own name here rather than this blue highlight. Speaking of personalization, I also want to briefly talk about segmentation. Specifically, I want to head to the subscribers menu and talk about the difference between segments and groups in Mailerlite. I'm going to start with groups. These are more commonly called tags in other email marketing platforms. And I think of these as labels associated with different subscribers. So as an example, all of my downloads or my opt-ins have a different group label. So anybody who downloads the email marketing toolkit, they would get this group label right when they download that resource. Similarly, I have groups for each of my programs. You might have a group for your different services and so on. Then under segments, I think of these as lists. So these are dynamically updated. That means that as more students join, let's say course builders or join other Wit and Wire programs, if I had a segment called All Students, they would automatically be included in that list. So let me just add one quick example. I will call it All Students and click Create. At the top, what you'll need to do is choose a filter so that Mailerlite knows which contacts should be included in this segment. So I would say anybody who is in the group, either belonging to the Course Builders group or the Email Engines group, all of those contacts should be included in this segment. That's just one of many examples, but to recap, segments are dynamic lists, groups are more like labels, and I would say segments are kind of a bigger group in terms of hierarchy. A segment likely includes multiple groups or criteria, so hopefully that gives you a helpful starting point. I also have a few more important pros and cons to help you decide if Mailerlite is really right for you. Compared to their direct competitors, they do have fairly affordable pricing. They're on the more budget end of the range. And the fact that they have a free plan that you can use with up to 1,000 subscribers, I think is so great for a lot of business owners who are just getting started. They also have a fairly user-friendly and simple interface. So although some direct competitors are more robust and maybe have more features or integrations, if you don't need all those bells and whistles, then they're just distracting. So they have a lower learning curve, and I think you can get up and running with Mailerlite fairly quickly. They also have a useful automation overview. I like that you can see how many people have entered an automation and their conversion rates. But I would say one major pro that we have not talked about yet is their strong deliverability. Deliverability measures what percentage of emails you send that actually make it into the inbox. And Email Tool Tester does regular, excellent reports on deliverability. And in the green, you can see all of the platforms that over the last 3 tests, they have deemed to have excellent deliverability. And in fact, Mailerlite is right at the top. I have no data to prove this, but I have a hunch that one of the reasons why their deliverability is so good is because they have a much more rigorous approval process for new users. Other platforms don't do that. So again, that's totally a hunch, but overall, it's definitely an advantage that Mailerlite has such excellent deliverability. Huge pro. Now, every platform has cons, and it's up to you to decide if any of these are truly deal breakers. The first is that there are no templates on the free plan. There are no email templates, there are no landing page templates. So this might be a bigger deal for some online business owners, but I do think that templates can offer a fast track or a starting point, and especially depending on how confident you are building from scratch, upgrading perhaps to a paid plan could be a great way to save time. I would also say that their automation is a bit more limited compared to other competitors. There are other workflow triggers, there are other types of steps that can be included. So I think Mailerlite is going to check the box for basic automations for many online business owners. But if you know that you really want to personalize, customize, and really maximize all that automation has to offer you, you might be better served with another email marketing platform, either presently or perhaps you might graduate into that in the future. Now, the final con is the one that I think will be a deal breaker for some of you. It is a deal breaker for me, and that's the fact that you cannot use affiliate marketing. This is a screenshot directly from Mailerlite's website, and it shows which type of content is not allowed. And here you can see that they say that you are not allowed to send affiliate marketing to your subscribers. If you run a business or in any industry where you want to promote any types of products or services to your audience via email, this could absolutely be a deal breaker. Now, to be clear, let's say that you had a YouTube video and the YouTube video talked about different products, but you just linked to the YouTube video from your email. As long as there are no direct affiliate marketing links in the email, that is likely okay. But if at any point in your business you want to include an affiliate marketing link or promotion via email, then Mailerlite might not be for you. So that's definitely something worth considering. Like I said, it would be a deal breaker for Wit and Wire, but it will not be a deal breaker for all businesses. If you're ready to check it out,